Really?
Yeah, because
so it doesn't bother you if people get it wrong?
no, no, because in the beginning it was really the stage persona that I was very specific about.
Yeah.
But now that I kind of grow out of it and I don't really, now the drag standards are so high and I don't love drag that much.
Yeah.
To be a drag queen.
Yeah.
So
You're just an entertainer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just being me and I have my look and that's it.
Yeah, we don't have to label all of this stuff. Right?
Exactly.
It's so crazy to me why we have to
Have firm, like,
yes,
this is this,
exactly,
this is that.
like compartmentalize everything. It's like, well, there's a gray zone we have to acknowledge.
Whatever, and because people have asked you to speak, so you know you're worthy of being there. So it's just like,
Yeah.
you guys all have to sit and listen to me. So here we go.
Deal with it.
Yeah, basically.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. So Charlize, I wanted to ask you. I was sat in the crowd when you spoke at the opening ceremony in Durban, and you put a really good emphasis on young people and us being the future, and how really we need to be more involved in being able to have access to opportunities to really fight this battle. And actually at the time I was an activist, but I was anonymous. I didn't tell anybody what I did because I was scared of stigma and discrimination. And so from then to now, what do you think has changed in the landscape of stigma and discrimination, if you've seen any changes?
Yes, I have. I mean, I think that you can always look at these issues in the matter of the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, right? It just depends on the day. But I do think that I'm inspired by other movements. I'm inspired to see what's happened in the LGBTQ community and how far they have come to and be inspired from that community to see how we can better integrate that into the HIV world, and especially with young people. I do see that there's more communication. I just came back from a trip to South Africa and I witnessed a lot of youth sitting with religious leaders and elders in their community and their parents and talking about real hard social issues. And so I know it's happening, and in parts I'm also realizing that the conversation is happening where we don't expect it to, like rural communities where we don't expect people to feel comfortable to talk about stigma situations, and sometimes less in bigger cities. So that was a lesson for me to learn, that it's not, we can't kind of predict where the conversations are happening and where they're not. I think it's actually very educational to know that rural communities are really stepping up and taking ownership of talking about their social issues. So I think it is happening, but we so desperately need more of it.
Yeah. And I guess to get more of it, it's really great that we have celebrities on board. And there's actually a question from one of our viewers, Greg Gray. And he says, how specifically can the role of celebrities help in addressing HIV? And you spoke last night, and I think it was really nicely done the way that you said, it isn't about your personal story or my personal story. It's about a stigma that actually we need to get rid of and a fight that we need to end. And I guess could you expand more on the role of you as a celebrity and a humanitarian?
Well, I'm in the privileged position that people kind of listen to when I say something. I don't know why, but they do. As to HIV or being HIV positive myself, I was afraid as well to talk about it because I thought the stigmatization is still so strong, and it definitely is. Although I really just received nothing but respect and support, it was important to me not to stand there and, you know, reduce myself to my HIV status, because it's just a fraction of who I am. And I think what I learned is, when you talk about it in a way that people can relate to it and understand it, they stop being afraid. And I think that's the biggest issue we have. People know too little about this disease. So I use the attention I get and try to, you know, set things in the right place, and to hopefully people listen and learn about it.
Yeah, and I think you've done a really good job in being able to relate to a lot of people. So I know that we're really grateful for your voice in the kind of community. Charlize, I know you just got back from Rwanda with your foundation, and I'd love for you to talk about any takeaways that you had from that.
Yeah, we were on a 10-day trip visiting some of our programs, grassroots organizations that our grantees that we support in South Africa, and then we stopped off and visited with a few in Rwanda. And really, the idea behind it is to gather, to sit down and listen. That's really, it's an amazing trip, because we just get to sit down, and we are so lucky that we get invited into communities and into town halls with young people, and that they're open and vulnerable and sharing information with us that we then can bring back and try to utilize and put to something that could be proactive in helping them. And so for me, it's just always a gift, because, you know, I'm 43 years old, and every time I have an opportunity to sit with young people, especially young girls, and to hear their struggles and the things that they're facing, I find inspiration and a real drive in that, because it makes me realize, even at 43, we are all connected. I am connected to those young people, and our stories are there to share and inspire and uplift each other, and they do that for me every single time.
Yeah, I've got a question from another viewer, Isabella from Newcastle, and she's asking about what was your first reaction when you realised the impact of your outreach project, and, you know, is there any special moments you'd want to share with us about that?
That's a interesting question, because when we launched in 2007, I actually that night cried all night. I actually get emotional when I think about it now, because when you start working in this field, you realize that the problem is so big that it could be overwhelming, and it feels like nothing that you do, no matter how good your intentions are or how hard you work, in the beginning it felt like, what will this actually do? You know, because this problem is so big. It's like a giant standing in this giant shadow. And we went back to the grantee that we were supporting 8 months later, and it was unbelievable to see what happened in 8 months, just purely from creating a youth-friendly service where young adults felt really safe to talk about issues that they've never been able to talk about. And so within an 8-month span, we went back, and I remember just the contrast of crying myself to sleep that night, feeling so sorry for myself, how dare I, but also realizing that it starts with one person. It's that drop in the bucket. It's the ripple effect, right? It's like we all have to start with one person, with one community, and that is how we ultimately cause change. And I feel that now. I feel like after 10 years of doing this, I feel like we are very focused on personalizing solutions and not believing that one size fits all. So we look at each individual as an individual and as a person, and each community at a time, and trying not to generalize that everybody needs the same thing or needs the same resources or tools or education. It's different.
Yeah, and the same to you. Have you had any special moments where you've thought, this is exactly what I wanted to do with my platform, and I'm so glad that I've seen an impact from the work that I've done?
Yeah, as I said before, I was really scared, to be honest, because I thought, oh, how this will end up if I, share my secret with the world, and seeing the amount of respect that I got was just so beautiful, and I was happy that I was wrong by being scared, and also the media, because I thought, for the media it would be so easy to pull this apart and make it about, a sensational story or headlines or whatsoever, but they really took this opportunity and this chance to talk about the issue. They interviewed specialists. They were educating people with all the articles about prevention and where we are at the stage, when it comes to research and stuff. So I was really happy and overwhelmed that they took it they led it in that direction, because there's always a possibility that Boulevard Media would,
I know, but I think it's so
apart.
inspiring that your story was so positive,
Yeah.
and I think that's important for young people to know,
Definitely.
that they probably are expecting the worst, and it's nice to know that sometimes we can be nicely surprised by people's kindness and empathy.
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful story.
And I received, with social media, it's so easy to get in touch with people you couldn't have get the chance before. So I received so many direct messages by people telling me that they are thankful that somebody is there who is HIV positive as well, and is such an example for being healthy and strong and living the dream. And for me that was touching, that they got the feeling, oh, okay, it's not holding me from living the life that I want.
Yeah, I completely relate to that. I came out about like a year and a half ago when I received a Diana's Legacy Award for kind of living out the legacy of Princess Diana, and I was just so anxious about what are people going to say about the fact that I was born with HIV. And actually then when you do it and then people respond to you with such positivity and with their own things, that actually they wanted to feel seen, they wanted to feel heard, and they were also facing stigma and discrimination of many different kinds. And actually a voice like yours standing up and saying, I'm willing to talk about this, a voice like yours standing up and saying, I'm willing to help people get platforms to talk about this and do work alongside these people, I think is really, really an important thing. And I think we speak about stigma and discrimination so much that it almost kind of gets lost in the sense of like, what does that even mean anymore?
Yeah.
But I think as long as we're able to keep addressing it with positive stories, then I think, we're doing a really good job with that.
I just want to commend both of you, because I feel like you are really the ones that will change stigma, because you are actually just living your lives. You're being exactly who you are, and you're here, which is incredible. We need more of that, because that's what normalizes all of us, right? You guys are showing that youth looks differently. Like, we don't all have the same stories. We don't all look the same. And I'm just glad to see more representation this year at this conference from youth, and that I feel like I'm hearing from youth a little bit more. I'm very happy, and I'm very happy that you guys are here to speak and really reach out to let people know what it is really like to be a young person living in this world today.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, you two, for like being here. I'm really grateful. I guess we can kind of end by talking about, there's a question that's come in about what can this conference do for the people that it serves, and I guess if there's one thing that you wanted to come out of this week and come out of the things that you've both talked about and shared, what would that be?
Oh, wow.
Of course.
I kind of answered it. I really want to hear more from the youth, and the more I can encourage conferences like this one and other bigger organizations that really have a platform to really take the time to invite young people to that table, so that they can actually speak for themselves and people like me don't have to speak for them anymore. That would be for me a dream come true, and I feel it more at this conference than I did at the last conference I was. And I think, I guess, for us to realize that all of this is not as scary like you said, that really touched me. I think we need to let the world know that the things that we are ignorant about, the things that we avoid that causes stigma, all of that is just, it comes from fear. So I hope more young people are heard at this conference, and I hope more older people will take the solutions for a lot of the problems that we're facing in HIV today from young people from this conference and actually put it to action.
Yeah, for me, it was important that I wanted to kind of normalize to talk about this disease. I really don't want it to play it down, because it's not, you know, that would be completely wrong. But I think, as we all said before, if the fear gets stronger, there just comes out so many misunderstanding and so many prejudices that is just not true. And I think, yeah, educating people with the platform I have, that's what I wanted to try, and I hope this will, you know, do something.
You did it.
Let's see.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely right about more youth being involved in this. And there's never been a moment in this conference where I felt youth weren't welcomed or listened to, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And I hope that it does continue, and I'm sure that it really will. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess
Thank
we'll
you.
carry on with our next steps. And
Yeah.